Thank you, Commission, for having me. So I'm here representing our team in Destination Development and Marketing. So not just myself, but our colleagues Karen Palmer and Trevor Crow, of course, and Ashley Stewart, who we've just recently and warmly welcomed back to the department after some parental leave. So I'm going to be giving you a brief update from the department as it relates to our strategic plan that we put in place for 2018. So just to refresh your memories on that plan without going through it line by line, we had 5 key priorities that we had outlined for the year, and that was a document and a strategy that we came up with through consultation with the Destination Marketing Subcommittee. So those priorities, starting from the left to the right, were supporting year-round visitation, as well as promoting and creating an inclusive Prince Edward County, being able to leverage emerging markets and trends in the sector and the area, providing robust visitor services, as well as the recruitment and retention of new residents. So for this presentation, I'm only going to speak to those first 4 that sit kind of formally with the Destination Development and Marketing and Visitor Services. And within those 4 priorities, there are many, many aspects that I could drill down into. For our time today, I'm going to hit home on some of these key initiatives that we've been working on this year that have some really relevant updates that I'd like to share with you. So heading it off with our earned media, and that would mean any type of promotional material. It could be through print, radio, digitally sourced, that has promotional aspect around Prince Edward County that we have not necessarily purchased or solicited to be done. So this happens all the time. I'm sure you've seen it, where a beautiful blog about coming to the county pops up. This is an example about beating the post-TIFF blues. This was from the Hollywood Reporter that did reach out to us to say they were doing the piece, but we had not commissioned it in any way. So articles like this, we've had 236 instances to date of this type of earned media. You'll see just below last year's number from 2017, it's almost about 100 shy, as well as the value in that. So we internally track and assign dollar value to each of the types of earned media that we collect. So this year is sitting at just over 600,000 in value. And again, that's about $1 million in earned media shy from 2017. And just to address that seemingly large gap, we had a pretty bumper year in 2017, mostly thanks to it being Canada's 150th birthday. Definitely some extra attention on the anniversary of Prince Edward County itself, the 225. Through that, we were able to see the royal visit. It was a big year for Canada in general. Lonely Planet named it the destination of 2017. So we were getting earned media through the likes of some very big fish like Canadian Geographic, Condé Nast, Vogue was here, GQ, just to name a few of them. So that's what bumped us up in 2017. Otherwise, we're fairly on par, and we'll probably see that number grow a little bit as we round out the end of the year. Additional sources of earned media, but some that we do kind of facilitate, are our FAMs, or familiarization tours or visits. So this is either working with our partners at Destination Ontario, so the provincial entity promoting the area, or RTO 9, which you might be familiar with more as the Great Waterway. They've gone through a little bit of a rebranding I'll speak about later, but both of them entertain different media and influencers into the area, so we've worked with them on those visits, as well as some of our own targeted ones that play back to those key priorities that we talked about. So we were able to host 10 of these FAM visits this year, and we were able to touch on our Quebecois audience, accessibility when it came to sight impairment as a visitor, cycling, as well as our usual food and fine dining, and we have a couple more coming up to round at the end of the year, specifically on women fishing in the Bay of Quinte, actually. So this is an example of a print piece that was the result of working with L'Actualité. So we had their editor down who was keen to talk about promotion and awareness of Sandbanks Provincial Park, since that is such a huge draw for our friends in Quebec. And this is where we get the opportunity when we work on the FAMs to sit down with these people and say, you know, we recognize that as well, but what we would like you to entertain is talking about what happens when the park is full, what are some other family-friendly things you can do, what are other francophone-friendly things that you could see and do in Prince Edward County while you're here, so that we can help kind of manage the narrative a little bit. Moving on to the official tourism website. So that's at visitpec.ca. We had several targets set for this site. It was our first full year of the website in operation. It's been up since the early June of 2017. We've got to date 525 businesses. Those are tourism-related businesses here in Prince Edward County that are listed there. Business listings are free. We've added 231 this year, just shy of our target of 250, which I think we'll probably hit by the end of the year because we're constantly adding new ones and having businesses come on board. We've promoted this year 317 events in Prince Edward County. Again, event listings are free through the official tourism site. We added 232 this year, which is double our target of adding in 100, and it seems like new events in the county are popping up every day. We also had a healthy target of 26 blogs that we wanted to have on this tourism site, and that was an exciting new component of visitor services for us because we, again, weren't relying on influencers and media to have the narrative of Prince Edward County. We were able to internally assess what kind of conversations we wanted to have, what kind of audience we wanted to have them with, and really target that. So we've exceeded that with 27 blogs by the time the end of the year comes. I want to acknowledge, too, that we had the opportunity to make that possible through a combination of in-house expertise as well as externally sourced. Karen Palmer, being on our team with her writing background, was able to really lead the charge on that and getting us going with commonplace content that most other destinations have, like our standard what's on in each month, which again, we're just regurgitating the information submitted to us through those event listings for the area. Just a fun fact too about the blogs, of all of the 27 that we're going to round out the year with, the number one blog, I would ask you to guess. This is not that kind of forum, but it's guess in your mind. It's the family-friendly one. So we had blogs on different patios in the county, where to take your dog, what to do when Sandbanks was full, and all those were in the top 5, but by far, what is family-friendly and accessible in Prince Edward County was our number one blog. And not only was it the number one, it was actually the 11th most visited page on the entire website, which is incredibly significant. And that's the kind of analytics that help us inform what our visitors and our tourists are looking to know more about, so we can put more fodder and content there. Also, a new avenue for us this year through the tourism site was the infamous Contact Us page, which I'll confess I was nervous to post up because when you contact us, you contact me. So an example there at the bottom from this email, and it's quite standard, so I can share it from Joan, just saying that they're going to be in the county late in December, and there's going to be a big group of them ranging in ages and stages, and wondering what to do at that time of year. So again, this allows us to see what are people looking for, how can we ensure we've got contact about what's on at the holiday season in the county, but also being able to add another avenue to how we connect with people looking for information. So we had 223 of those inquiries come through this year. We are looking next year to continue this and also add kind of a what's the word I want to use for this? Just an ongoing feedback survey that we could host through the site. That's kind of imagine a button on the side that says, "You've been to the county, tell us about your visit." So we could have this kind of ongoing additional information that is kind of lost at the moment. Even Fazeka was saying that they're having challenges with getting visitor information, which has been a challenge in our area, especially as it trickles into other facets our department works on, supporting local business growth and retention, because people are looking for the stats on our visitors and what information they're looking for. So as I said, it was our first full year of collecting data on the official tourism site, so that forgive the smallness of this, trying to cram as much in as we can. That line at the top there, the orange or reddish line across, represents the user traffic on visitpec.ca from 2017. So you'll see that it doesn't quite start until halfway into the year when the site launched. And then the blue line is the data from this year. So we had a target to meet at least a 50% increase in users on the site, at which we have well exceeded, which is really great to report. Some of those peaks and valleys on user traffic were definitely at long weekends or times that we had released specific blog content that went quite viral. And I just want to address the gap there in that little red circle. We actually just accidentally, our web developers noticed that we dropped a pixel that allows the tracking through Google Analytics. So the site was still up and running. Unfortunately, that's Maple and the County weekend, but we weren't able to collect some of the information there. So we've got a total of just over 84,000 users this year, and so that again is a 331% increase since 2017. So it's great to see all of the traffic coming through the site. To the bottom right, it's a little bit small, but that's showing the systems that it's coming through on. So the number one system is iPhone-based, or Apple-operated. Underneath that would be Windows, so your more classic desktop, and then followed by Android. And so the two blue bars, the one at the top is the usage from 2018, and then below that will be 2017. So almost the same for iOS, and then a growth in desktop and a slight drop for our Android users. And consistent looking at different types of users who are using the site. Again, the pie chart's there, so year over year, a healthy portion of new visitors as well as retaining some returns. And some of the other demographics just show that we're definitely hitting our targets for the age range, around 24 to 45, predominantly a female audience or female identified audience using the site. We also have strong numbers showing that entry points to the site are coming through organic search and our social media channels. So I'd mentioned, it's not on here, number 11, that blog being some of the top pages. So these are the top pages in order. Pretty standard for what you've got in your main menu at the top of the screen there, but also seeing that people are quite interested in ending up looking for different accommodation offerings as well as things to eat, no surprise. And then on the right, looking at the cities that are engaging with the site. So at the top, we've got Toronto, followed by Prince Edward County itself, Montreal, and Ottawa. So that's that golden triangle that we're often trying to market and speak to. And the two that aren't included there but would follow in order are Kingston as well as Belleville. This is a page from a report that we had done by a company we're working with called Lion Eater, and this is sort of traffic research about what's coming through to visitpec.ca. So even though we've had about a year and a half of the site and we continue internally to provide updates and tweak things as we're able to see the adjustments that we need to make and new businesses and events come on board, we wanted to have an external audit done to see what else we could be doing to improve things like our SEO rating, other upgrades, making sure that we're keeping top of mind on Google and the algorithms that keep us front and forward for visitors. And part of that plan is that SEO optimization work, and so they've been coming up with a plan for that, as well as our kind of sibling site at buildnewlife.ca, again touching on that priority around resident recruitment and retention. So really excited to be working with them. It's a full website review that they're doing, and then we'll be internally doing a full website review for changes done by locally our developer here as well, as we see things grow and change on the site. And one part of this that I had to add the slide in on Friday because it only happened then, but I'm really proud of the team to get here, is that we are top rank Google when you search visit Prince Edward County or visit the county now. Which was one of our major goals in the strategy this year, to get us front of mind and top of Google, which takes a lot of not very sexy back-end work to do that kind of thing. So it's really exciting to see us there as the official tourism site. In addition to the website, we still manage our 3 social media platforms. So going from the left to the right, that's our Facebook account, Instagram, as well as Twitter under @VisitTheCounty. So we're managing about a 28,000 person audience across those 3 platforms. We had a target this year to get us up to 30,000 that we're just shy on. You can see that there's been growth over the 3 platforms. Those percentages reflect the amount of followers who are engaging us there. We've hit the target for Instagram, or we will by the year end. Just to say that the other 2 didn't quite make it because you might be familiar with Facebook's algorithms changing early on in the year with the privacy legislation that came in place. So really that platform, unless you're putting paid advertising behind it, it's very difficult to organically grow there, even though we're still managing to. And then Twitter also has just naturally transitioned into more of a business-to-business platform versus business-to-customer. So speaking of having to put paid advertisements through on Facebook, this is an example of a paid ad that we had. So this is one of those 10 things to do in Prince Edward County for the month of October. So these again are pieces of information that we are comprising in-house of information that's being submitted to the tourism website that we are promoting for those businesses. We're putting it together and then we're pushing it through all of our channels, which includes Facebook. So we do put, this one I think was $20 behind it. So this just gives you a sense of what happens when we're able to do that. The trackability and the analytics have been hugely helpful for us to see what people want to see, how they want to see it, where they want to put it, who's going to share it, click through, and information that way, so we can assess spend. So total this year for ads like this, we've spent $1,900 through Facebook, which is quite low for anyone doing marketing and advertising through this platform. And it's allowed us to reach just over 210,000 people for that price, which comes down to not even quite a penny per person for that kind of information. And the additional analytics, as I said, are what make it really invaluable. Moving on to the Instagram account, which I just wanted to inform people on because it's been growing and changing this year just as a platform. It is owned by Facebook, so it shares some of the algorithm information, but it is an amazing free tool that's growing immensely, and we've been able to leverage it in great ways to keep meeting the audience and stay on top of what's trending or new and changing in Prince Edward County, and to generate user content and then be able to glean it. So this is an image of the top 12 posts that we had shared over our account this past year, and only one of them is a picture that I took. You're welcome to guess the picture that I took, but I like to think that it's hard because those are all very nice pictures, and I'm not a skilled photographer, but I'm the last one. I guess that's fair, at Wapoos, the view at County Side, or with the Wapoos sign. All those other images we were able to see by using the analytics in Instagram to see what people are already saying and posting about Prince Edward County, and then interacting with them in a way that we can share their content, which builds our audience for free. It also allows us to see trends. So obviously these are the top 12 posts that people interacted with this year. People are interested in our nature, our natural resources, getting outside, and then meat and cheese. New this year that we've also been using on Instagram are the stories feature, which you might be familiar with if you're using it for your own personal life or your business. So just taking you through from the left to the right, this is a feature that allows you to post something that only lasts for 24 hours. But it's kind of a quick snap of what's going on this weekend, which is how we've been using it. So again, using all those events that come through on the tourism site and regurgitating them here to say what's happening in Prince Edward County this weekend, and that we're a reliable source for people to come to and get those details. So this is an example of a post 2 weekends ago I posted about Wassail being on. So that far left picture, each of those little kind of grayed out blocks is a tag to a particular business that's participating in Wassail. When they're tagged, they have the ability to share that content. In the back end, the next image next to it allows me to see how many users, impressions, follows, likes, all the different types of interactions people have made with that story post. And then I can drill down even further on the third image to see how many of those people, those businesses who've been tagged, have been followed through on. So who's seen this, been interested in Wassail, said Trail Estate, I want to know, clicked on it, and been directly pushed through to Trail Estate's business information. So I have all that information. So that particular post on that page had 308 people click through on those businesses on that post. And then the last slide, just again showing more analytics that we can receive on how many people saved it, shared it, or wanted more information. And Instagram has also been another channel, as well as Facebook, that people have been sending similar information like the Contact Us page, but using those platforms as that. It's really common now for people to direct message through there. I got one the other day asking where to get a Christmas tree in Prince Edward County. New this year also on this front is our official tourism e-newsletter, and we've been sending them out. We had a goal of 10 this year, which we'll wrap up with our December one in next week, and we're actually going to have our colleagues from Koha helping us with the January one. Heads up. The official newsletter has been sent out to just over 505,000 people. We had a target of 3,500, so we're happy to say that we've exceeded that, and it continues to grow. People are signing up off of the official tourism site. The open rate is almost on par with what our target was at 30%, and the click-through is just shy of our target, but I'm happy to report that it's just at and actually a little bit higher than kind of industry market standards for electronic newsletters. This has also been, as I said, a nice hub and spoke concept of putting through content that we've already generated somewhere else. So we've already got our list of events, we've already got what's on this month, and we've already got different blogs about how to make sure you're doing a cycling tour in the county or the Regent Theatre anniversary. So we're just passing people's information through all these different channels. We are excited next year as well to have blog content as well as the newsletter in something that's more of a PDF printable format, because we are hearing from industry that it's helpful to have the customer know the information, but is there a way too that industry can get the information and be better able to dispense it to people as they're coming through. New this year also, we, through the partnership with RTO9, which I'll speak to in a moment, are able to facilitate our own destination page on TripAdvisor, which, if you're not familiar with, is a third-party platform where you're able to glean user-generated information and feedback about businesses, experiences, and more people, we've seen this trend over and over again, are trusting sources through their friends and their colleagues more so than large companies. So it's incredibly important. You can see that the accommodations and vacation rentals and some of the other stats there, those numbers next to it are different businesses in Prince Edward County who are now tied to our destination page. It's incredibly difficult to get a destination page, so we wouldn't be able to do it without the support of the RTO. And we were able to upload all this content here, images, resources, itineraries, and that's just another way that we can be found and be that authoritative voice on Prince Edward County and help other businesses who have a page there leverage the brand. So moving on to visitor information hotspots. I have a handout I might pass to Adam to share. So this was a pilot program for us not that long ago that we've been continuing with this year in 8 particular visitor information hotspots. So just to remind you, those were partnerships with either public or private entities at gateways to the county, major downtowns, as well as Sandbanks being quite a major destination. So working with the Rossmore Stop, Three Dog Winery, the folks at the Glenora Ferry, the Picton Library, the Bloomfield Board of Management, just underneath the Town Hall, the Wellington Museum, Terra Restaurant, which is in Consicon. So that had been M's Restaurant at that location, which has a new ownership, as well as our friends at Sandbanks Provincial Park. So we've continued working with all of those folks. Definitely some improvements and challenges that we're sorting through for next year, mostly related to inherited legacy projects or legacy infrastructure at some of these places that had been inherited by us. So looking to find more and better ways to keep the information connected with the people at the business. As we've seen, there's no getting around that. You could have the best laid out sign in digital format with all the glossy brochures, but people will walk right past it, not read a thing, and ask you where you think they should go to dinner. So working again to strengthen the tourism ambassadors at those spaces and making sure they have the tools and resources to continue doing what they're already doing. We saw a lot of success just through the means of people coming through, of course, at Glenora as well as Sandbanks, but we're also getting a lot of interesting anecdotal information at places like Three Dog Winery and Bloomfield underneath the Town Hall, where they're saying they have the chance to have more of a conversation with people, do more of that cross-promotion and selling, which visitors find incredibly valuable and retain as part of their memory of the experience. So this is the Visitor Information Center in the Wellington Museum. You can see this year part of it was installing the branded racks where we keep the distribution materials. We were able to put in a digital kiosk this year there, so we were able to have people, if they didn't have their phone handy to use the official tourism website, they were able to utilize it at the museum. And that goes both ways. So someone who's visiting and looking to say, I'm here in Wellington, what can I eat in Wellington? I can search by restaurants of this area, but it also helps the staff and the volunteers and the students at the museum be able to find out information that they don't necessarily keep front of mind or can't know everything, so it can live there with them. Part of the visitor information centers we also included in a weekly newsletter. So that's not the tourism newsletter that I had just mentioned, but instead an internal communication between all hotspots to keep them up to date on what are the road closures this weekend, what events are on this weekend, so you can let visitors know different points of interest or information that they might need to know for what was coming up, which was quite successful. We were able to also continue with the distribution system. So that's going to those 8 hotspot locations. And this is an image at the Glenora Ferry. So these are some new racks that we had installed at both sides of the ferry for folks to be able to pick up materials at the washroom buildings, if you're familiar with those stations. The distribution system, we had spots for 20 participants this year, which was full up plus a waiting list. As I said, we took them to the 8 hotspots over 25 weeks between May and October, so the main tourism season, or the height of the tourism season. As well as these new racks, we were able to distribute, and partially because of these racks, Glenora, as I said, is an incredibly high turnover rate and people picking up information there, and the staff at the ferry were quite glad to have regular distribution there. So we were able to get out and about just over 28,000 pieces of individual material from those participants. We had targeted for 30,000, and I'm not worried about hitting that before the year's end, as we still have some left over, and we still continue to drop off to some of the locations that are still open, as well as sending materials out to Ontario's travel information centers. We are thinking about, in 2019, additional ways to improve on the distribution system. So how can materials more in bulk, if they're available in bulk, get to nodes, so they're not only benefiting the hotspots but other businesses in that area who are looking to have print material regularly brought to them. And because we've seen an increase in most of the material, there was about, it was an 89% increase this year in amount of material distributed than the first year. So there is a hunger and a place for it, and we just want to make sure that if people are investing in print material, it's getting into the hands of people who are interested and want to utilize it and not ending up in the recycling bin. So I'd mentioned, as part of these hotspots, we have our tourism ambassador programming, which we've had 16 training sessions to date. I think I've got 2 or 3 more on the books before the year ends. Our target was 10 for this year, so exceeding that. And we saw a variety of training sessions, which was really exciting, and it's been definitely an enjoyed project of mine, because we're able to cater to the audience with this. So we were able to give training sessions to frontline staff who are new at the business, ready to go for the tourism year ahead. We're also able to train students through Career Edge's HEAT program, the Helping Employers Attract Talent. So sitting down with folks who either are underemployed or barriers to employment, who are looking to get up to date, as well as industry folks. I know Councillor Maynard had been to one of them. If you're a business owner, operator, or invested in the community, we're having a shortened version, which was half training and information and half a kind of peek behind the curtain of how does the big machine of tourism work in Prince Edward County, who are the players, who are the partners, how do I get involved? And then just recently we were able to work with PECI and be taking over their grade 11 careers class for the last 3 weeks to give those students tourism ambassador training, which was very enlightening for me. It was a definite mix from being with adults all of the time. So we had aimed to train 100 people this year, and we've exceeded that. It'll be approximately 170 by those last few training sessions that are concluded this year. And within those training sessions, everyone gets a test at the beginning and a test at the end of some nature, so we can kind of assess who knows what before and a little bit after. And the average test mark at the beginning was 68%, which is pretty high. So again, that's an average from about 150 people. It definitely varied. I've had a test come back that had 2 answers completed out of 40 before. So it ranges. We try to make it a safe space, but happy to report the average post-test training mark of being about 87%. So definitely a growth of information across the board there. The nice thing about this program also was the opportunity not only to put information into the students' minds, but being able to bring people together who wouldn't necessarily normally meet each other or have time to meet each other. It's been key to be doing this in the shoulder season, we found as well. We get to bring people to a space they may not have been to in the county. We were able to utilize different art spaces, museums, businesses to get people introduced to new locations. And then we were able to bring people together with different county products. So every session there is absolutely a food component. So you're either eating from a local caterer, a local restaurant, or different agri-products from the area that you might not have known of otherwise. These are all of the content that's involved in the Tourism Ambassador trainings. It varies the length and what activities happen depending on the length of class, the type of students, and what we need to glean from the end of the day. But it is comprised of a mix of conversation, games, tests, assignments, activities, all kinds of silly things. And so we get the groups not only to do these self-assessments, but they help to judge each other and learn from each other on what they know and what they don't. We tell everyone, you are not expected to know everything, but we want you to know where to find the everything if you needed to tell someone. There's a trick question on the test that says that you call Rebecca Lamb, and I tell them that you get 2 marks off if you circle that, because that is the wrong answer. If anyone is interested in coming, we're running another session this Thursday at Flame & Smith, actually. And these trainings proved you can even teach an old crow 10 generations in something about Prince Edward County. Even our colleagues went through this training, and although Karen got the highest mark, everyone is still on a spectrum of learning about Prince Edward County. You must all know, living and working here, that things change and update and grow faster than we can keep up. So this training evolves all the time. We add new components and revise it every time. So it's been beneficial that way a lot. And we're really looking forward to continuing working with our friends at Career Edge and the Learning Center and being able to develop a digital learning platform that would be complementary to the in-class. So we've been having videos made about subregions of Prince Edward County and using LearnDash as a model to have something electronic that people can use as well as the in-class information. We're finding, too, by meeting all of these people in these businesses, that it's a great opportunity to build connections, find out what their challenges and their successes are, what they're looking to know, and the gaps in information and what people don't know or have misunderstood and haven't necessarily had a platform to have someone clarify, this is how this works or doesn't work, or who has a responsibility or a role to be able to do things. So we're looking forward to the next year, as well as strengthening those communication channels and maybe finding some new platforms to be able to have that, again, authoritative voice on tourism in the area. So just to wrap up visitor services, I thought this graphic spoke to it really well. This is from a study that Alberta had done on visitation, and today's visitor, they also were looking at decentralized ways of meeting the needs of their visitors. So this is a graphic of online and offline ways that today's visitor expects to be able to interact with your business when they're looking for information. So that's 9 different ways. This is coming from this is an update from when there could have been 3. Let's say a travel agent, maybe you had a website, maybe you had a brochure. So this is expanding, but unfortunately business owner, operators, and staff do not also expand to meet these needs necessarily. So we're very happy to say that we're able to facilitate a key role in filling some of these, not extensively for everyone, but across all of Prince Edward County. Anyone who's engaging with us who has a tourism-related business, we're able to facilitate that. So just how I mean to say that is if someone has submitted their event into the tourism website, we've received it, we've then made sure that it is connected to our tourism newsletter, we've sent it to our visitor ambassadors, the tourism ambassadors at the Hotspots, we're putting it into our social media calendar for the weekend, and it's popping up on our digital kiosks at our visitor information centers. So the stars can show all of the ways that we are already playing into this and playing a supportive role that businesses can leverage. And the 2 that aren't highlighted right now, the bookings and reservations as well as mobile visitor kiosks, we're also considering in 2019 ways that we can engage with bookability, e-commerce, and different ways to engage tourism ambassadors beyond the information centers that we have right now. And I wanted to touch on partnerships. We've been able to maintain and grow and change with many local ones, like the Arts Council, Pequot, to name a few, but one that I really wanted to highlight was Regional Tourism Organization 9, which you might be familiar with or remember that this year they had a big change from a marketing organization to a management one. So that's where that change in the name is coming from. They're not so much about pushing forward the Great Waterways as a destination, but helping enable the destinations within their region to shine. So we really appreciated that change in direction, and we're able to actually glean a lot of benefit from that. So we had just over $42,000 leverage to glean us an additional $76,200, and that was over 3 funding streams put up by the RTO, which totaled just over $118,000. Which we were able to fund just over 14 projects with that, which has been huge for us. And one of them that kind of stemmed or was the catalyst for a lot of this, which you heard Trevor and I speak to you earlier in the year about, was the Edge of the Wedge program, which really opened our eyes to, again, us maybe considering how we can not only be supportive with marketing and the marketing channels that exist, but supporting with destination development and product development in the area. These are some of those projects that were supported by the RTO. So the signage is coming through, which is huge and really exciting to talk about wayfinding signage in Prince Edward County. There's an audit that's been done by a business out east who's been doing this different parts of North America, and we're really looking forward to the results of that. In front of you, you've got the wayfinding map. So this was a result of feedback from our ambassadors saying, we're looking for wayfinding support, not necessarily every business directory, something that I could scribble on. Here's my favorite place, take this route, there's a bathroom on the way, and I can send them off with. We were able to publish a fully French version of the lure piece that I think you've seen at an earlier meeting as well. We had additional support for shoulder season campaigns, being able to go to consumer shows. We were just at the Gourmet Food and Wine last weekend, and we're going to be at a wedding show in Toronto in the early 2019. In the center there, that's a dashboard for Travalytics. So similar to what we've been looking to invest more and glean more information about the data of our visitors, RTO9 is recognizing that as well. And so they're setting up streams to be able to pull that information. So we work with them to drop different pieces of code into our marketing initiatives that they then funnel through and can see for the region. And then in the bottom right was about 18 or 20 students that we had at our RTO9 workshop that we hosted on experiential tourism. So again, jumping off from what we learned at Edge of the Wedge and getting people to think about partnerships and new products or expanded products in the shoulder season. And this is the last slide. This is how I feel about destination marketing development as it pertains to our title and our department. It's a smaller marketing and a bigger development. Not to say that we don't have a place and a key role in marketing, and we're going to uphold that. And we are doing that and looking to expand on it, especially digitally this year, but also taking a holistic look at the marketing efforts of Prince Edward County and our different partners here to see what really makes sense and what can we track and improve upon. And that's going to be through the development. So that's going to be working with partners, meeting them where they're at, what are your needs, and finding unique ways to work forward with them on their strategies and their plans and how we can play a supportive role in the background. Part of that's going to be the tourism industry specific communications I spoke to, different platforms we can keep people in the know. We will be launching our first visitor guide publication, and so that could be similar or a morphed version of the lure piece that you've seen before, but something that is more all-encompassing of Prince Edward County. It's got that visitor information that people want to know, that wayfinding map that you've seen. There wouldn't be a native advertising component to this. This would be strictly visitor information. And then we're going to continue to work with our marketing subcommittee, which this year we were happy to welcome on 4 new faces. If you haven't met them before, so Sonia Zabo, Carson Arthur, Jeremiah McKenzie, as well as Julianne Snaps. So looking forward to the next year, lots of work to do. We're working with them. We have a meeting this week to talk about the rest of the work that's been done for the Strat this year and what we're going to be improving upon next year. We've already started with some of those initiatives as well. This image is actually from a Sir Thrival workshop that we'd hosted, again, bringing together people who are interested or already have something happening in Prince Edward County in the shoulder season. And I'll just conclude by saying at that workshop, these tiny pieces of paper you can see, everything on the left, which is about 27 individual events or programs or something that already is happening between October and May in Prince Edward County. And when people sat down and said, we already have 27 things that happen between October and May, I had no idea. That's the kind of thing that sets the work out for us, right? So that's where the marketing has got to come, the support with the shoulder season to say we've already got great things. How can we formalize some partnerships and help get the word out for folks? So the right-hand column or the right-hand list are all the potential partners people can work with, and we're really excited to be the conduit to that and the connector to really build and grow for 2019. Thank you for listening.
That's an awful lot of information. Thanks.
Now digest.
It's exciting information. I've been writing notes down of questions, but I'm sure there's been others that questions have popped through the mind as Rebecca was going through all of this. Yeah, maybe not. Any of my colleagues on the left, comments on starting off with the information on earned media. There was stuff about Hotspots and the ambassador. I'm just trying to summarize to refresh your memory because it was a lot.
It's a lot. We do a lot of things. I'm sorry, guys. It's really hard for me to always get it down to the Coles notes, but those are them.
It's a lot of exciting things. But Lynn, please.
I don't know if this is a question for you, Rebecca, or Neil, but what is the general, are we receiving pushback either from visitors or from local residents about lineups at sandbanks and difficulty parking and just infrastructure concerns and traffic and just kind of how much is too much and when do we have to be concerned about that?
Yeah, we're definitely hearing that. So no one in the industry is being shy about expressing their concerns around that, whether it means that their business is being directly impacted because of that challenge, or if they as a citizen are feeling the strain of that reality. I think it's true to say that there's an over-tourism realm that happens in Prince Edward County. I'd say it sits between that July, August, September range, where the focus that we want to have there is that visitor services role in making sure that people can get safely to where they need to go. There's information about the park being closed in full. We talk about that at all the trainings. Finding ways to mitigate the challenges that currently exist and doing some harm reduction. What can we do to support that? And then play more in the supporting with marketing and promotion in the shoulder season so we can spread the love a little bit. And we have heard too from visitors, because we have all these channels now for them to just speak to us directly. Complaints come through there as well. Obviously I didn't want to include those on this short presentation, but we do hear them for sure. One of my favorite that I talk about is a gentleman who complained to me about not being able to buy a pie on Thanksgiving weekend because all the pie shops were sold out. Why is it so busy here? I can't get a pie. So we're feeling that pain in many forms.
Yes, Neil.
Through the chair. So it's not a coincidence that the training that you heard Rebecca and Trevor were involved in earlier in the year, they really focused on destination development. It's not just a coincidence that that we've moved in that direction, I guess, as a result of that training. We've noticed the saturation, so to speak, and we've noticed the challenges, and we've been getting that feedback, and so it was very timely that training opportunity and this shift where there's greater emphasis on destination development. Destination development is also about destination sustainability, and some of the education that's provided through some of the training and some of the new partnerships that our team's involved in are looking at how do you generate greater value from the right visitors as opposed to simply more and more visitors. We've heard horror stories from many operators of many different types of tourism businesses that they're saturated with clients, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're buying a lot, and sometimes there's actually disruptiveness that happens at some of those businesses as a result. So it's about kind of shifting our focus. As Rebecca said, we're still doing marketing. It's certainly a strength and it's important, but destination development is as much about sustainability and mitigating some of that kind of peak time saturation and those challenges, as it is just about improving the visitor experience. It's also not a coincidence that some of the other things that community development is involved in, whether it's the affordable housing initiatives or the short-term accommodation initiatives or the rental vacancy study, some of those things that you heard about in previous meetings, those things are also happening at a time because a lot of the challenges created by some degree of over-tourism have bubbled to the surface, probably more than they ever have in the past. So we are attacking different things on different fronts, but as the Commission knows, they're all connected.
Any other questions? Good.
I don't have a question. Yeah, just a comment. What a great presentation, Rebecca. Well done. That was very articulate, very informative, and you did a great job. I would even recommend that you take her to OEMC and let her do a presentation on behalf of the municipality. It was that good. The reason I was chuckling is I see that our famous Prince Edward Yacht Club toilet toss
Yeah.
made the list of the 27. And for those of you that don't know what the toilet toss is, every winter, we take plungers and we freeze them into the ice down in front of the yacht club. And we have a whole bunch of toilet seats that have the opening, and we curl with them. And the place is packed. It's actually full, and sometimes there's a waiting list for teams. So it's quite an event if you ever get a chance to come down and see it. So that was the reason I was chuckling, is that I'll have to let the yacht club members know that they made the top 27 list of things to do in Prince Edward County. Incredible. So thanks, Rebecca. That's a great presentation.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. And I wanted to pick up on Neal's comment. Unless there's somebody who wants to pick up on your comment, but when I was reading through the terms of reference, which is, I know, our next agenda item, when I saw destination development, I said, okay, how do we define that? And what you've done strategically, which is really good, is to sort of help us understand as a commission a little bit more that it is moving towards the issues that were pulled up, and I think that's really important. I was also struck with the building of other newsletters, like when you talked about your tourism ambassadors and sort of that engagement and that internal work and how important that is for the analysis that you need to do to make sure you're doing the right kinds of things, the more sustainable things going forward. So I think that's really important, because then you get all of your service tourism providers saying, okay, we have a conduit that can get back to us here when there's issues that need to be complained about, if it's saturation or any of the others. So that really stood out for me, and I thank you for that as well. Anybody have any more questions or comments? Tim?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to follow up on Lynn's point too about the tourism, or the comments of oversaturation of tourism. I think there's areas of tourism, maybe not necessarily oversaturation, would want to step back from that, but there's areas where there are greater demands, and maybe the demands are stressing, and there's a public image of tourism being so demanding. I think it would be very good for the department to look at kind of managing that message and getting out to people some of the benefits of the tourism that apply to the community as well, because there's tremendous amount of benefits. And we run into some long weekends where we have issues that, I don't like to point out specific issues, but there are times where we run into extreme busyness in certain areas, and I think educating the tourism operators on advising people when to go different places, the best times to maybe avoid it, those are all things that absolutely would benefit the whole tourism industry and the customer experience, and it goes on and on. So I think those are really important things, and I think it would be a really good idea to maybe look very hard and very close at what can be done above and beyond what we're currently doing, because I think there's tremendous opportunity to help the tourism industry continue to grow and do better throughout the whole year. Thank you.
Tim, I often say at trainings it'd be more ideal if I could capture tourists as they come over the bridges and give them the training on how to do things while they're here. We haven't figured that out yet, so in the meantime, absolutely what you're saying about meeting the operators to be that harm reduction stopgap is the way to go.
Well, we really appreciate you helping us as tourism operators get that message out to our customers, because it is important that we do our share of that work, and having the tools and the abilities in place will be what gets us there. Thank you. An excellent presentation. Thank you.
Anything else?
Neal? Pardon me? No, I think that we've answered all of them. I think our comments covered. Yeah. Do you have something you want to say?
Yeah, so through the chair, I just wanted to point out, throughout the presentation, you noticed that we listed the targets that the department had for a lot of the different activities. So you will recall 2 years ago, we established some key performance indicators, both high-level and activity-based, and this was our first year having established some baseline information in 2017 that we were able to actually set targets and then track against them. So, Christine, you've talked about the balanced scorecard approach as kind of the logical follow-up to establishing your KPIs and your logic model. And so we wanted to make sure we were kind of bringing your attention to that. This is only, I won't say a fraction, but a small amount of the data that is tracked. Certainly the approaches that we use give us that trackability and that data collection, which is great. But of course, time is spent to be able to do that. But it's important to inform your decision-making, of course, evidence-based decision-making, but also to be able to communicate to decision makers, whether it's yourselves as the Commission or to Council or to the public. You'll see we're actually recording this presentation now because it's really important to get this kind of information out to tourism operators and the rest of the community so they can see the kind of value that we're getting for actually relatively little financial investment. We're leveraging a lot of grant dollars, we're leveraging a lot of earned media, the digital spend and social media, we're able to leverage quite a bit. So hopefully you're able to see the value in the types of activities that we're doing. And we'll continue to set targets based on our experiences and report on those as we go forward.
Thanks, Neil. Because you raised that point, I did look at my first question, and Becky, you talked about at the beginning about the earned media and how 2017 we got such a bump because of the bicentennial and all of that. So if we're talking about establishing targets, that was really an anomaly. It was an unusual one. Would you say that 2018 and what we've got so far is more of that baseline that Neil was referring to, at least for earned media?
Typically, I'd say that you're correct, Christine. The only problem is in my 3-year tenure here, we've had a lot of big fish, not necessarily to the extent of last year, but a Condé Nast or a Roots campaign, like one of those big things that we have the benefit and the opportunity to partner with has kind of inflated those for sure. I think what helps to see is that number of instances that it's happening. So to say that we were just under 100 times shy, and that number we've seen I think will continue to grow because the conversation about Prince Edward County is still happening. It's definitely harder to come to that dollar number assigned with it, but as long as people are keeping that we're front of mind in conversation, there's different ways that you could analyze that dollar figure attributed to it. And I would just say to Neil's point about the rest of the strat plan, which is very, very long, if there was anything I didn't cover today or that you were interested in hearing the update or the stat on in the future, I'm happy to provide that kind of information to folks.